We get a massive update on the Vancouver Canucks injuries, including Rick Tocchet speaking out on Brock Boeser and when he'll possibly be returning. And we get another huge update on Thatcher Demko on his possible return and a quote from Thatcher himself. We're going to break all this down and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, I want to give a huge shout out to Rentals.ca, who is a huge supporter of Team Canada. While they've been supporting our national team defend their home court in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home floor all across the country. From cities like Vancouver, Abbotsford, St. John's, and Windsor, from coast to coast, Rentals.ca has a ton of options to find the perfect place and price for you. The website is super clean and easy to use. You can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, where you want to find your next home court, and helping you find all the options in your area.
You can find your home court with rentals.ca. Check out their website in the pinned comment or the description down below. And a huge shout out to rentals.ca for supporting our channel, Team Canada, and you guys for finding the best rentals across the country.
Once again, shout out to rentals.ca. But with that, Griffin, let's just hop straight into the first topic, which is a huge update on Brock Boeser and honestly quite a big update for fans as well. We did get a quote from Rick Tocchet today, and he goes into some stuff on Brock. I think he's coming on the trip. I haven't talked to the medical staff yet. We have a meeting after this to decide if he's going. Whether he stays back to skate or not, we will have to talk about that. If he doesn't play on the trip, obviously he won't come, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes day to day. Now looking at this, they do have a game against the Ottawa Senators on November 23rd, which is the first game on this road trip that they will be going on. Getting someone like Brock back in this lineup would be huge, not only because Brock has been a stud for this team, but getting him back to help this team gel a tiny bit. I mean, looking at the lines with JT Miller out for personal reasons, we see Brock out of this lineup. Tocchet's had to go in and make some changes. I mean, we've seen Jonathan Lekermack drop to the third line with Teddy Bluger and Danton Heinen. We've seen Archie Baines being called up, Ratu still down there, Höglander. Getting Brock back will add so much to this top six. I like the Dakota Joshua, Suter, and Garland line. I don't think he'll touch this, but I think getting Brock with Pettersson, with DeBrusk, we'll get a tiny bit of a spark going with them as well. I mean, we've seen Petey kind of getting his footing back, and same with DeBrusk. But looking at Boeser, getting a former 40 goal scorer just last year in 81 games is going to be massive for this team. 73 points last year. He came in firing at almost a point per game, 11 points in 12 games, 6 goals, 5 assists. Griffin, seeing the news that Brock could be back as soon as Saturday against the Ottawa Senators, what's your initial thoughts on this?
I'm over the moon. I'm super happy. I think all Canucks fans are super happy because we need him now more than ever. Especially with great that Petey's getting going. He's finding his groove a little bit. I love what you said too about Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland being with Pius Suter on that second line. But getting Brock Boeser back is going to be such a big breath of fresh air for this team because they've definitely missed him. And I know JT Miller has stepped away for personal reasons. Hopefully everything is okay there. And he's back on the ice as soon as possible because I know he was definitely missing Brock Boeser as well because that's one of his line mates. It's one of his co-pilots. And those guys are a dynamic duo. But with getting Brock Boeser back, now he's going to be able to play with Petey. We're going to have 2/3 of the Lotto line reunited, hopefully on that first line. You can't imagine Boeser not being on that first line. And with the way Petey's playing right now, he's found his groove. He's definitely going to be on that first line with him as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do as far as who's going to fill in that final spot on the top line and then who's going to jump down to that third line. Because like you said, they're not going to touch that second line strictly because of Garland and Joshua. So it might see someone like DeBrusk probably drop down, or I don't know. I liked Kiefer Sherwood in that first line. He played really solid the past 2 games, especially last game. You know, he really got in there, got his hands dirty like he's been doing every single game. Guys have been playing their butts off lately and being put into positions where they have to be that next man up. And they've all stepped up to the plate fairly well. There's been some guys that have been a little bit of passengers, but even when they've been a bit of liability, they're still playing their butts off in the end of the day.
And I mean, looking at this team, yes, they are a team that is struggling a tiny bit, 9-6-3. They do have 2 games in hand or 1 game in hand to a lot of these teams like the Kings, the Flames, the Oilers. Yes, the Canucks are not having the start to the year they had last year, but without their starting goaltender, without Brock for some of these games, without JT Miller for the past game, having these missing key pieces is something that's going to hurt the Canucks. So getting the players back with a guy like Brock, with a guy like JT Miller, once he works through everything, like we've said before, we hope everything works out with JT Miller and we hope him the best. But having this Canucks team, they need to get healthy. They need to get everyone on the ice at the same time. And it's just a matter of time before it happens. And Brock seems like he could be the first piece going on this road trip, which, like I said, would start Saturday. And Tocchet said he thinks he's coming, and if he's going to come, he's going to play. What are your guys' thoughts on Brock possibly coming back as soon as Saturday? Are you excited? And how many goals do you think he'll score in his first game? Because it wouldn't surprise me if Brock came back and scored 3 just to get rolling again. But with that, we'll hop straight into the second topic, which is another huge update, and that is on Thatcher Demko. Now, we've seen Dolly talking about Thatcher Demko, and he says, Demko was out there this morning. You know, he's getting closer. I'm not sure that Demko is days away, but if everything goes according to plan, I wouldn't be surprised if he's back next week. There's a report he's getting closer. I can confirm those. He's taken more and more shots, tons of side-to-side movement. Hopefully next week, next Tuesday in Boston, will make sense if he does. Hopefully returning soon, but he is getting closer, that we know. And if you've been on social media at all, you did see videos of Thatcher Demko skating with his team, going up and down the ice, taking shots from the Sedins and Gonchar. Demko is working his way back, and this is something that's going to be a massive impact on this team. I mean, looking at Demko last year, he does go in to kind of talk about this injury as well. He said, obviously, it's been a long road, Demko said. It's nice to be back with the guys a little bit, definitely having a little more energy. Prep and Mike Step coming back and being out with those guys. There's still a lot of work to do, I think, but really good. This is the best I've felt in 7-8 months. Finally have a light at the end of the tunnel and have a lot of direction in what we're trying to accomplish. Now, looking at this, as I said, Thatcher Demko was a finalist last year for the Vezina Trophy. He had an outstanding year, putting up a 911 save percentage. He was out 918, save percentage. He was up there in the Vezina race. Getting Demko back is going to be huge. He might take a game or two to get back his footing. But looking at this, Griffin, if we can get Demko back on this road trip, if we can get Brock back on this road trip, do you think we're going to see the Canucks go on a tiny bit of a run?
Canucks Christmas morning is getting closer and closer and closer, and I can't wait. I'm so happy that we're going to see Demko back, and it's going to be one of those things where, like you say, he might take a few games to get his footing, but he could also just come out and get a shutout his first game just because he's so hungry to get back, and especially because of all the speculation we've only heard from insiders, from people outside the organization, or just reporting on the NHL. But now we're hearing directly from Thatcher Demko himself that, yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is closer more than it is further away, and it is getting so close that he is almost ready to step on the ice and get back to game form. I'm so excited. I know every Canucks fan is super excited because with Demko getting back, we covered it in one of our last videos where it's going to feel like a Grand Slam trade in a way where they're getting such a massive piece to the puzzle, not just coming back, but also just helping out with this season with these new guys as well, taking some pressure off of some of these new guys who have taken a little bit to get going, or even some of our defenders who have taken a little bit to get going. I'm looking at Carson Soucy and Tyler Myers specifically. So getting a guy like Demko back is going to be a huge thing for that. And especially when Brock Boeser is going to be coming back, it's almost like the Canucks have just had to kind of like hold their ground a little bit in that little middle ground in the division and in the West, just until they get some of these key pieces back, so that when they get them back, they can hit the stride that they hit last season at the beginning of the year, but they're going to hit it at the midpoint of the season, heading into the later part of the season, and that's what you want more than earlier in the season for sure.
And I mean, looking at the goaltenders with Demko out, we've seen Lankinen come in and be a gem for this team. He came in winning 8-3-2 during the span. Shilovs has struggled a tiny bit, and it's going to get interesting once Demko comes back to see if Shilovs does go back to the AHL, if he works with Abbotsford, gets his footing back with them, and maybe comes up at some point, or if the Canucks want to run a 3-goalie tandem, or trio, I should say. It's going to get quite interesting, but what's your guys' thoughts on the Thatcher Demko news? What's your thoughts on Brock possibly joining us as soon as Saturday? Because I think the reinforcements are coming, and the Canucks are going to start pushing for the top of the West. But let us know down in the comments. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Once again, I want to give a huge shout out to rentals.ca for being a supporter of not only this channel, not only Team Canada, but also you guys for helping you guys find your perfect next home. But with that, I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host Griffin. Take care.